I appear for the State Bank.
Yes. Mr. Salve, in our order which in the judgment which we delivered, we had expressly asked State Bank of India to disclose all details. The language of the judgment was all details have to be disclosed. Therefore, that includes the bond numbers as well. So, let SBI not be selective in the disclosure of details. We intend to clarify that it shall disclose all details, including the bond numbers, and every part of the information which is in its possession and custody. Don't wait for an order of the court. We banked on the fact that the State Bank of India would be candid and fair to the court.
But whatever your Lordship say, if your Lordship say bond numbers, you can disclose the bond number. There's no problem. Somebody can screen them.
Why has the SBI not disclosed?
I wanted to tell my Lord how we understood your Lordship's judgment. Give me 5 minutes only to explain our conduct. We'll, of course, if your Lordship say give anything more, everything will be given. But there's no question.
SBI's attitude appears to be: you tell us to disclose a particular detail, and we'll disclose it. That's not fair process.
How we understood.
This is the judgment of the Supreme Court. As chairman of the State Bank of India, I am duty bound to comply with the judgment. I will disclose every part of the information which is in my custody as directed by the Supreme Court. Because when we said all details of the purchases, that means every conceivable detail which is available with State Bank of India. And we clarified by saying including. That should be, State Bank of India has the best legal advice open to it.
May I not take your Lordship through the 3 orders to how we understood them? My Lord, your Lordship's first order was 12th April 2019. Yeah. And we have, for convenience, my Lord, we have put the 3 orders together. If your Lordship just see that. We'll give everything. There's no question. Just to explain that it's not that the impression which is being created, my Lord, is that State Bank of India has been playing ducks and drakes with the court. I just wanted to clear that up. In the above perspective, according to us, the just and proper interim direction would be to require all political parties who have received donation through the electoral bonds to submit to the Election Commission of India and seal cover detailed particulars of the donors against each bond, the amount of each such bond, and the full particulars of the credit received against each such bond, namely the particulars of the bank account to which the amount had been credited and the date of each such credit. So, my Lord, your Lordships felt this would ensure transparency, that you give all this, but you keep it in a sealed cover. So, my Lord, a political party doesn't need bond number. If a political party comes and says, I have received so much from so-and-so, that gives the requisite details.
We take it you're not arguing a case for a political party, right?
No. On the contrary, I'm saying the reverse. I'm so sorry, I'm saying the reverse. But if a political...
Para 16, Mr. Salve, was relating to the political parties who had to submit the data to the Election Commission.
Correct, and they have. And this has...
No, that's a separate issue. Whatever they have declared or not declared, that's a separate issue. But as far as the judgment of this court is concerned, because you were supposed to...
I'm coming in a minute. If your Lordship will just give me 1 minute how we understood it. Para 16, as my Lord has therefore noticed, only required the political parties to give all these details. And these details have been given, my Lord. If they have not been given, that's between the ECI and the political parties. As my Lord the Chief Justice said, I'm not preparing for a political party. Your Lordships dealt with the diverse aspects, including the need to preserve some degree of anonymity, and your Lordships will not mark that in para 125, where your Lordships discuss the electoral trust as a alternative. Now, my Lord, as we therefore understood this, the political parties have come and said, we have received so much from so-and-so. The details which we will give will make the database complete so that we have who purchased, when he purchased, and when they have got. If the numbers are to be given, we'll give them. There's no problem. So, according to us, the data...
Mr. Salve, I have a few questions. First, tell us in what format is the data on the purchase and redemption of electoral bonds stored by the SBI?
So, as I had explained in the application which we filed, because at that time we were functioning under the edict of anonymity. which had not been stayed. So at that time, we were directed to preserve anonymity, including we had to take measures that within the bank.
What is the format in which you maintain the data on purchase and redemption of electoral bonds? In what format do you store
In two
it?
silos. Your Lordship noticed that in the next order. So the data is maintained in two silos.
You store it in three silos. From your application, it emerges now that you do it in three silos. The first silo is the bond number. The
bond number is only on the bond.
And the third is the redemption.
My lord, bond number is only on the bond, and it cannot be read except through under a UV light. That was only done, my lord, like authentication, because it was a bearer bond. That's what was thought to be.
The purpose of the alpha, and second question, what is the purpose of the alphanumeric?
The alphanumeric is the bond number which is visible only under a UV light.
Is it only a security feature, or is
a security feature entirely?
In the audit trail, do you also?
No, my lord, audit trail is separate. That's why we do the entire KYC. In the KYC, we have a bond unique number. It's not the bond number. You have a marker number of a client.
Third question. Yes. How does the redeeming branch match the electoral bond number to determine that it is not a forged bond?
So they were not, that's what I'm saying. When they received it, the person encashing it gets it, he sees that it's a valid bond because you see the security feature. You don't keep a record of it. The physical inspection.
While redeeming it, the only way you can ensure that it is not a forged bond is to match the alphanumeric.
There's nothing to match. It's like seeing a currency note. It's like seeing a currency note. You know that's
the alphanumeric.
Yeah.
But cashed in the last 15 days because it's only valid for 15 days. So therefore, they will have to also match. When was this bond?
I think Mr. Bhushan should hold his peace for a minute.
Fourth, what is the information that you see when you scan the alphanumeric?
Malad, you see a number.
The details of the purchaser and the bank which issued the bond when you scan the bond?
No, Malad. That's what I'm saying. That correlation was not kept. For the reason, it's like this. Mr. A or Mr. B come and buy the bond. So they go to branch A. They do the entire KYC information is done. Their bank account details, etc., everything is done. That is silo 1, if one may so call it, which is not in your Lordship's order. That's been fully disclosed. That bond finds its way into the hands of some political party. We don't know who gives it, how it goes, how many hands it changes. It finds its way in the. We next get to see the bond when somebody comes and says.
Mr. Salve, assuming that you construed our order based on the interim order merged with the final judgment of our court.
My lord, even in the final judgment.
Say that we will interpret our final directions in the light of the interim order, which has merged with the final judgment.
My lord, your lordships.
All details.
That's why we came to my lord.
Mr. Salve will clarify to put it beyond any.
No problem. No problem at all.
We will say that now SBI will not only disclose the bond numbers, but it shall also file an affidavit again before our court saying that you have not suppressed any, you will not withhold any details in regard to this within the purview of clause B and C of para 221.
Correct. I don't think there's anything else which remains.
Details, you have to disclose all details. Let there be no, because the burden should not lie upon the court or the petitioners who say, but this one has not been disclosed. But now this has not been disclosed.
Now we'll disclose it, Malad, whatever.
We must have finality to it.
Yes, we'll do it, Malad. There's no problem. Just that this constant, the media constant beating down and the petitioners giving public interviews saying, we will take the state bank to task and we will show this and we will haul them up for contempt, etc., etc. But we are also public institutions working in this space. And it's all right. People worked, people acted on the faith of this. Your lordships granted an interim order saying keep records. It wasn't at that time, my lord, subject to correction. I didn't find any order which says all further actions will be subject to the judgment or something. There was no such direction. Your lordships are at that balancing interim order. Now, whether completely you should lift the privacy or remove anonymity, better your lordships will.
Mr. Salve, the idea behind the interim order was in case a writ petition is allowed, then data should come out. And that's what exactly is required. Nothing more.
I must say so, my lord, as out of whatever, as my lord, the Chief Justice is saying, your lordship will clarify, we will give every bit of information, relevant, not relevant, we'll give every bit of information which we have. So that, my lord, there should be no feeling that SBI is interested in somehow holding something back. I only want, my lord, to share one thing. My lord, your lordship's judgment is one of the leading judgments on the subject on transparency, voters' rights, and balancing democracy, balancing the competing virtues of and trying to minimize the role of money while recognizing the role of money in elections, etc. It goes over a lot of subjects. The one thing the Lordship's judgment was not meant for, possibly, and not designed for, is to give birth once again to a now dormant PIL industry, which will go after each industrialist and say, investigate this, investigate this, investigate this, investigate that. And the idea is the voter should know, which is absolutely, and may not say, give the bond number, we'll give the bond numbers. The voter knowing is one thing, but this as fodder for the next 10 years to have PILs saying investigate so-and-so, investigate so-and-so. That is, I don't think, the purpose of your Lordship's judgment. That was not what it was meant for. And your Lordship will see whatever safeguards need to be put in place.
Just one more thing.
I have 2 minutes, my lord, if your Lordship permits. But at the outset, my lord, on behalf of the central government, I completely disassociate myself with what Dr. Agarwal has written. It is completely unwarranted and ill-advised. I want that to be made very clear, my lord, on behalf of the central government. Now, my lord, I have something to share, and I have been watching this very painfully, my lord, outside the court. My lord, your Lordships sit in kind of a silos. The Lordships are, my lord, in an ivory tower, not, my lord, in a negative sense of the term. But what we know here, my lord, your Lordships never come to know. The way in which your Lordship's judgment is playing out, my lord, something your Lordships must, my lord, be informed as highest court of the country. But what has happened is, my lord, our case was that we want to curb the black money. A criminal may have paid the donation, but ultimately the donation comes in the white economy, and we could not persuade your Lordships. Lord, your Lordships passed a judgment. Lord, every one of us understood the judgment and the directions in a particular way, that what your Lordship wants is not, my lord, kind of a witch hunting. Earlier, my lord, our case was that witch hunting would be by the political parties. If A party is given, B party in some other state might victimize the donor. Now, my lord, the witch hunting has started, my lord, at some other level, my lord, not at the governmental level. The application comes of the SBI before your Lordships on 11th of this month, my lord, and your Lordships also, my lord, that's how, my lord, we understood, clarified the position. But most serious things, my lord, start happening thereafter. Lord, those before the court started giving press interviews, deliberately embarrassing the courts, my lord, and there is, Lord, a non-level playing field. My lord, on this side, nobody can rebut that. Neither government can do, nor state bank can do, nobody else can do.